Dear, now I have a question for you. How many diapers have you changed in your life?
Oh, I think I've successfully avoided doing it altogether.
Oh, really? I feel like I might have two. I definitely have been in the room, but I think I lie about it and say I have done it.
Why would you lie about that? You're not even a good liar.
You right.
Hello, everyone. I'm David.
And I'm Jay Brandon, and this is
Husbantr,
the podcast where we talk about careers, relationships, and some life lessons we picked up along the way.
But from the point of view of two queer married men of color.
Please note, we are not professional lawyers, doctors, therapists, life coaches.
But sometimes the lessons you learn from your friends are the ones that end up sticking. So stick with us.
Husbantr is genuinely a space for anyone that wants to gain insight from a different perspective. And that includes you.
We have a big topic ahead of us today, but before we get into that, let's dive into Word of the Gay.
Today's word of the gay is
Diva.
diva, someone with self-confidence and swag. And much like the word girl can be used as a term of endearment. However, diva usually refers to somebody, regardless of gender, who is absolutely killing it. Today's word of the gay is brought to you by the diva herself, Lady Gaga.
Whitney Houston.
Beyonce.
I can't top that.
Exactly. Okay, so today we are digging into one of the biggest decisions we have ever made as a married couple, and that was the decision to not have kids.
We know it's a hot topic and everyone has an opinion. We're here to share ours, our experience, how we got to this decision, and where we are today.
Yeah, and we're going to be real about the challenges of it, about the reactions we had from friends and family, because honestly, altogether, it's a very mixed bag.
It is. So let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
When we thought we wanted to have kids.
Oh, we thought we did so bad.
We did. I mean, so much, in fact, that we were picking out names.
Yes.
But the most embarrassing part,
They were based on Grey's Anatomy characters.
I'm talking about Calliope Correa.
I still think that's cute.
I mean, we'll get a dog when we're 80 and name
I
it
know.
Calliope. That's
Well, it was
enough.
Calliope Correa. We had Mason Avery. Obviously, if you've been listening to the show, you know we're obsessed with Avery, Dr. Avery.
Dr. Avery, I
that's awkward.
love you, Jesse.
We also had Maximilian Gray, which was out of control too. It was hysterical, but you know, it was funny to think about all those things and to come up with those names.
But
and
shouldn't be
such,
the reason that you have kids.
No, it should not be the reason, which we found out, you know, and I think that, you know, one of the reasons that I had decided was I never really had a paternal urge, if you will. But did you? You had a paternal urge, I think.
No, I think I tricked myself into thinking that I had a paternal urge because I was so overly concerned about my age. I had older parents.
Sure.
My brother and sister are 13 and 16 years older than me, so I had a different version of my parents than they had. Everyone always told me, my brothers, my sister, my cousins always said, when you were born, fun died.
Oh my God. That's terrible.
But it's what they would say because they got a version of my dad who played basketball in the driveway.
Okay.
They got my mother who rode rides and like went out and had ice cream. And now my parents are lactose intolerant and my dad can't play basketball in the driveway. And I just never had that version. So
Right.
I was always concerned about being a parent that could do those things, which is silly because me play basketball in the driveway. No, thanks.
I mean, what are you doing playing basketball in general? But I will say that I never had that because I think in my family we like are a close knit, big group of people. There's a lot of
There's
us.
a lot of you.
There's a lot of us. And so we always were like, you know, it takes a village kind of a family. So, you know, I grew up with my cousins that almost like brothers and sisters, you know, like, so to me, like having that paternal urge was never really there. But what I don't think people realize is that there were a lot of external forces that were really kind of like putting the pressure on. And like
Knowingly and unknowingly.
100%, you know, because I think one of the unknowing pressures, and this is totally not anyone's fault, but everyone around us was having kids.
Right. And
Everyone around us.
We had a lot of heterosexual friends. So everyone around us got engaged at the same time. Everyone around us got married at the same time. And then everyone around us started having kids at the same time. And we were
Right.
like, wait, I guess
I
this
guess
is
we
the
should
next step.
too. And it was also kind of like, well, if we have a child, we want them to be surrounded by other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So our close friends who have kids, oh, great, it'll be cool to like raise them together,
Right.
kind of a thing.
Takes a village, they say.
Right. And, I want everyone listening and watching to understand that when we did make the decision not to have children, we were pretty far along in the process.
Right. We really did our homework.
Yeah.
We checked out surrogacy, timelines, cost, receipts, proof, screenshots, fucking everything.
Literally everything. We became experts. Y'all.
Literally.
And it was so expensive, first and foremost. And more than the cost, honestly, were the risks. It was just way too risky. You had to go through this process, and it was pretty insane. And we had a great friend who had offered to donate her eggs, which is part of it's a lot of money right off the bat, right?
And she was gorgeous.
And she's super beautiful. Again, not a reason to have kids. I think
cute names and cute babies.
Listen, shallow. Anyways, but so she definitely was like, I will give you my eggs, no problems. And we had a meeting with the doctor. This is after going through the process of understanding what surrogacy was and all that jazz. But we had a meeting with the doctor, and they had asked how old she was. And at this time, I believe she was around 30 or 31, something like that. And they had said, sorry,
those are some old eggs.
Those are some old eggs. And I said, excuse you.
Rude.
Rude. But they had explained it. They broke it down through like number of eggs and egg retrieval and all that stuff. The risks, it was just like, there was no guarantee that this would happen. Right. And to go through all of that and to put our friend through a lot, because you have to go through injections and a whole bunch of stuff, for it to not actually happen, and then to lose out on upwards of 6 figures.
Right. Deep into the 6 figures.
With no guarantee of having a baby.
And then having to do it again and deal with that financially, emotionally, all the stress, the time.
It was, for us, we were fortunate, I guess, to make the decision not to do that.
Right. So then we explored adoption.
Right.
Which I thought adoption was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
We talked about me being Catholic. I have a devotion to St. Joseph. St. Joseph is Jesus' adopted daddy. I was like, this is like a whole connection for me.
See? And I mean, we have like a lot of friends actually that have been adopted. And I just think adoption is a beautiful way to create a family.
Yeah,
so,
we have friends who are adoptive parents.
Yeah. So we went through that whole process as well. We went to multiple adoption agencies. We actually physically went to adoption agencies. We spoke to them. We got... It was much more affordable. And we got into the process where they were actually scheduling a time to come to the apartment and take a look to see if we were going to be suitable parents.
Which we weren't going to be, because we lived in a crappy 1-bedroom apartment.
It was a pre-war 1-bedroom. Oh boy, that was...
We were hanging on by a string.
We really were. But I think probably what made us come to the realization, because before we actually had the agency come to the house, excuse me, we had gone on a date. So every year for our dating anniversary, we talked about this in previous episodes, but every year on our dating anniversary, we go to a little restaurant, and we have a couple drinks, do whatever. And then we have one of our state of our unions.
Yep.
And it was at that one that we were at. We had a couple drinks, and you looked at me and you go, okay, kids. That was it. It just kids. And in that moment, I had to make a decision, because I thought to myself, all right, I can do one of two things. I can tell him what I think he wants to hear, which at the time I thought you still wanted to have kids. So I was going to say yes. And then I said, or you know what? Balls to the wall. I can just be honest. And guess what, y'all? Being honest is always the best case, because I looked at you and I said, I don't want them.
And I said, oh my God, thank God, thank God, thank God. I'm so sorry I put so much pressure on us. I am so sorry. Because it was me that was leaning in on the pressure.
Sure.
I was concerned about old age and all that. But also, I was in a different place at the time.
Yeah.
Before this date night that you're talking about, I felt like I was at a dead end in terms of my career. So having kids, again, another bad reason, having kids, I thought to myself, well, It'll give me something to do. I'll be the stay-at-home dad. Jay can focus on his career and becoming this fabulous makeup artist, and I'll just hold down the fort, which if anyone out there knows me, knows that is probably the last thing I want to do.
No, that's the opposite.
I've been so busy in the last couple weeks. I'm running on empty,
Yeah.
and I am so invigorated and so happy to be
Loving
busy,
every moment of
loving
it.
every moment of the craziness, even when I say I'm tired and complain. So to imagine that I would be a stay-at-home parent, which no tea, no shade to stay-at-home parents.
No.
If that's what you love, that's
No,
what you love.
But there are people in this world who I think are truly meant to be parents.
Yes.
And, you know, and I see that. And honestly, sometimes I think to myself, like, did I make the wrong decision? Like, was I being selfish? Was I, you know, that kind of a thing. And I would get a lot of people saying to me, like, you would be a really great dad. Have you thought about having kids? You would be such a great dad.
So do you have any regrets now that you think back to those times when people said that? Because people did say that to you a lot.
A lot.
Not to me. They didn't say it to me hardly ever.
I think it's just because I'm a big kid. People know that, like, I love toys and stupid stuff. So, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. You know what I mean? Especially I think people see the way that I am with, like, nieces and nephews and things like that.
Yeah, you're the fun uncle.
I'm the fun uncle.
Until you're not.
Until I'm not. But I think, honestly, you know, regrets. Would I have regrets about not being a parent? The only thing I could think of is not being able to fully experience a paternal love, meaning like from a parent to a child. A lot of people who are parents have described it to me as something that they can't describe. It's a feeling they didn't know existed until they became a parent. And I'm just a curious person. I really like to understand and know things. And so, like, I want to know that. But I also don't. So I think that for me, that's probably the regret. What about you?
I don't think I have one. I honestly don't. I think that I have become so comfortable in my skin over the last several years that I no longer feel the need to feed into someone who will potentially eventually feed into me, which again, another selfish reason to have a
I think that's
child.
terribly selfish. It is.
Yeah.
I think so, because you spend all your time just rearing someone so they can take care of you. It's so wild.
Yeah.
You know. But I will say, though, now, not having kids, we have found a lot more time to support each other in each other's careers. I think that we get to make time for one another.
Yeah, that's some of the best parts of it, is that I get to be with you as much as I can and supporting you in your career, absolutely. But also, if we want to sleep in on a Sunday,
We can.
we can.
We can't. Unless the dogs wake us up. But that's
Right.
different. And, you know, honestly, something I love about not having our own kids is that we can be sort of the reprieve sometimes for our friends who do have kids. And I think that that's one way that us not having kids has really affected our relationship with those around us. But it changes a lot of things.
It does. And it changed the way that we move in the world together in a very positive way. But sadly, in some cases, it changed relationships we have with some friends in a not so positive way.
Yeah.
I remember it was 2020 and I was at a friend's child's birthday. I'm going to be very honest. It was a white friend and I am Puerto Rican, and our kids' birthday parties are significantly different than our white counterparts.
Because they're for the parents.
The Puerto Rican ones.
Yes.
Yes.
As I was saying, they're for the parents.
Correct.
You know?
So I showed up. I made a lot of mistakes this day. I will own the mistakes I made. I showed up late.
Yes.
Which
You're an on-time person.
I am a directly on time person.
Yeah, I'm a super early person.
I'm directly. If
But
I
you're
tell
late.
you,
Not late, on time.
I'm on any. If I'm 3:00 is the schedule, I'm there from 3 to 3:07 based on union time. I got there late. Party had already started, so I'm already entering a full house. It was a packed house and a normal size house, so like it was packed. I chose to wear a fur coat.
I think this was like the beginning of your J-Lo era.
And I loved it.
It's never ending.
Um,
It's never ended. It's still
And I had big sunglasses on.
See, told you.
And I realized as I was walking in the front door that this is probably the wrong choice of outfit for this party. But here we are.
But here we are. Let's just own the moment.
And almost immediately, a friend of that friend, or a mutual friend of ours, comes over and starts, oh, you live such a fabulous life. I was deeply working at New York City Pride at this point. I think I was executive director at the time. And it was right before pandemic. And she comes over and is telling me how fabulous the life that I lead is and blah, 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 blah. And that's, it's a compliment, but also like social media. I'm not showing you the crappy parts.
Yeah.
And then she says, you're so lucky because you have zero responsibilities.
Excuse you, because that's not true.
Just because there's not a diaper to change or a PTA meeting to go to doesn't mean that I don't have responsibilities.
Right.
We talked about the 2 dogs. I have you. I have elder parents. I have a whole ass career. Like I said, I was the executive director of the largest LGBTQ plus pride nonprofit in the United States.
Right.
And we were running into pandemic. Though it wasn't pandemic, we were a couple weeks away.
Right.
We all felt that something massive was coming.
Yep.
I had people's lives and jobs that I had to take care of. But according to her, I had zero, and I quote, zero responsibilities.
I have to say that is something that I get to this day. And I think it's really offensive.
It's condescending.
It's condescending. People say, oh, you don't have kids, so you don't need to worry about that, or you don't have to worry. And it's just kind of like, well, there's all these other things that I have. And also, I'm not competing with you. I'm not trying to say that my career and having dogs is harder than having kids. And I also don't want you to say, not you, but the people who have kids, to say that having kids is harder than something else.
Right.
Because everyone's circumstances are everyone's circumstances. And how hard or easy or challenging or something is based off of what's happening in your own personal life.
Yep.
So for someone to come out and say, oh, you don't have any responsibility because you don't have kids, I just don't think you understand.
You're trying to diminish what is my reality.
Right.
And I don't diminish what is your reality. You're raising an entire human. And I get that. That is huge. Thank you for doing that. Hopefully you're raising a good non-Trump voting human. And we can move on. But it's unfair to try to compare and contrast our lives because you decided to have children and I decided not to have children.
Right. And this isn't a preface, this is a little etage, if you will. But to everyone listening, we have full respect for those people who decided to have children.
100%.
Or have kids.
My parents decided to have children. Thank you.
Right.
I'm here.
Right. So, please don't take anything we're saying as like, we hate people that have kids, because that's not true. We're just saying.
I just want equal respect.
Equals respect. And the decision to have kids was just not for us.
Right. It also changed how we interact with people who have kids, and not the ones like in this story that was a negative interaction, but just generally it's unfortunate, but look, our schedules don't match.
Right. Schedules are very hard to match. Also, it's like if I have an off day, right? And it's my one day where I can just be off and relax and all that stuff. And then like someone who has a kid wants to come over with their child, let's say, it's tough because then that means I have to now devote my energy to paying attention to the child. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but it's like, that's not how do I explain that without sounding rude?
I mean, for me, it's not rude to guard your off time, especially when you don't have a lot of off time. I think I oftentimes, if I'm faced with the decision to hang out with someone and their kid, I have to think to myself, can I yell at their kid? Because if I can yell at their kid,
that's different.
Come on over.
That's true. That's true. If we can get a little parenting in there,
right,
we can help out.
Great.
Yeah.
Or if your kid doesn't require yelling and they're self-sufficient,
Right.
come on over.
Right.
Can I curse in front of your child? Because something happens. I'm not a big cursor,
You're
but
not,
something
some-
happens to me in front of children.
where you just turn into a sailor.
I turn into a sailor.
Don't
I
get
just
it.
every F word comes out in every language. Some languages I don't even speak. I don't understand. I will say one of the great things when you have come to this decision about not having kids and you meet another couple and they also say, oh, we also, and it could be gay or straight.
Yeah.
And they also go, oh, we also have decided not to have kids. And
Right,
you go,
you're like,
oh, let's plan a trip.
Plan a trip.
Let's get an Airbnb.
Right. I love it. Okay, so, you mentioned earlier, right, that one of your thoughts of having a kid was to have someone to take care of you in the future. Now, obviously now that we've decided not to have kids at all, do you still have some of those concerns, or do you think, we are getting older, so...
I mean, no, not anymore because Lucas.
That's right, Lucas. You're going to take care of us.
Lucas is our nephew.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that I spit him out.
He's literally, you are the same human.
Same
person.
He is my revenge to my brother. You know how sometimes they say that mothers make daughters who then become them, and that's
Sure.
like that. That's what I did. I
did
gave
to
my
your brother.
brother Lucas because Lucas is me, and now my brother is raising me.
I love it.
So I'm safe. Lucas is going to take care of us.
Okay. Perfect. So
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you. Okay, it's that time of the episode where we get into Husbantr hot takes. Husbantr hot takes. This is a section where we get to ask each other really quick little fun questions, and you get to know us more on a deeper, fun level. So I'm going to start it off. If you could pick one thing about the child-free life that you could love the most, what is it?
Ooh. Similar to what I've learned to love as a freelancer is that I can make my own schedule.
Oh, I
Yep.
like that. Okay, make your own schedule. I would have to say for me, I don't have to share candy.
All right, my turn.
Yes.
Gender reveal parties, yay or nay?
I'm going to say nay.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot.
Right.
There's always like these videos where people get injured in these gender reveal
Right.
parties.
Like hands getting blown off and all
And-
types of crazy nonsense. Also, let your child be what your child be.
Right.
Okay.
Like I've worked in queer nonprofit for way too long, and the idea of a gender reveal party just makes me uncomfortable.
Right. Buy everything yellow. It's a beautiful color.
Mm.
So here's another one. We may not be parents, right? But we are uncles.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked about my uncling style a little bit. What's your uncling style?
Oh, I'm the tough one.
You are. You're a tough
I am not the fun uncle. I lay down the law all day long.
Yeah, you're the tough uncle.
And then occasionally I go, stop, be nice to them when
Yeah.
you get mean.
But I tend to be nice all the time.
I wouldn't say all the time. Okay, my turn. Kids parties for the kids. We talked about this too.
Oh, yes.
Kids parties for the kids or for the adults?
I think they are for the adults.
Especially if the child's like 1.
Yeah, like, sorry, if you're having a 1-year-old's birthday party, that's not for the kid.
You better have a cocktail at
that
that
doesn't
thing.
make any sense.
If I'm coming and it's for a 1-year-old, there has to be a cocktail. A 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old. Just give me a cocktail.
Yeah.
Okay, one more.
Yep.
What's something you learned or you remember from your childhood you wish you could pass down in this whole idea of being a parent?
Yeah. I would say my mom used to do this thing with me and my brothers where she would wake us up in the middle of the night
Okay.
and she would be like, boys, get in here. And like, we would be like, oh God, what
Oh,
do
I know
we
this.
do? And we would get out of bed and we would go into the kitchen and she'd have like sundaes for us, or she'd have like a build your own Sunday bar kind of a thing, or like different types of desserts. And she would be like, surprise, have a good time. And it was just such a moment because it was like a spontaneous, really fun thing that I will always remember. So I guess passing down that kind of fun, spontaneous surprise.
That's cute.
Yeah. What about
That's
you?
cute. My parents and I have like little private, they're not so secret, everyone knows that we do them, but we have little like sayings for each other. Like with my mom, she always asks me, I had a really tough time in college my first year and I felt really alone and scared. And I said I didn't have any friends. And she said to me, well, Jesus is your best friend. ¿Quién es tu mejor amigo? And so every day, every time I talk to her, could talk to her 10 times a day. And before we get off the phone, she always goes, ¿Quién es tu mejor amigo? And I say, Jesucristo.
And if I'm in earshot, I go, Our Lady Guadalupe.
Yeah, because you love her.
I do.
And my dad, he always said, I love you 100% until last couple years he started saying, I love you no numbers. So every time we get off the phone, I say, I love you no numbers.
I think that it's the cutest thing.
Yeah.
I really, really do. Okay, I have one last Husbantr hot take.
Okay.
When should parents stop saying the months of their baby?
At 1 year old.
Agreed.
Once you hit 1,
That's it.
You don't have to tell me the child is 24
Right.
months. That is a 2-year-old.
Right? Like, oh my God, how cute. Well, my child's 47 months. Shut
What
up.
is that?
Stop it. So dumb.
Okay, so we have been asking viewers all season long to send us some questions so that way you can get in on the banter. And we have some. We've collected some over the season. We figured we'd get a little list of them going.
Yes.
So we are going to start off with a couple questions. You kick off the first one because he's your biggest fan.
Okay, so this question comes from literally our biggest fan, my biggest fan, Kai Park. Hi, Kai. So Kai, he's a child of our good friend Eva and Ed. And he asked, how did we come up with the idea for the podcast?
That's a good question, Kai.
Great question. So we used to have balcony chats, and we would always just sit on our balcony and have these conversations. And then we started talking, oh, maybe this could be something interesting. But then we were in Seattle with Leo and Peanut, or Jessica, and we were sitting down and talking to Leo. And we started talking about this idea, and he was like, wait, this should be a podcast. And we were like, oh my God. And we came up with the name of
I think we called it Dear Queer for a while.
We called it Dear Queer. We were like, this should never be a podcast.
Yeah.
It was something wild. And then, we decided to try to just put it together, and we came up with Husbantr, and that was that. And here we are.
Here we are.
So great question, Kai.
Thanks, Kai.
Yeah.
There's a second question from Kai.
Okay.
Kai gets 2 questions because he's one of the kids that we really like.
Love him.
Kai wants to know, Jay Brandon, when did you start doing makeup?
Oh, that's a great question. So I've been doing makeup now, oh my God, almost 20 years.
You're old.
20 years. Yeah, so I was always doing makeup on the side for fun and for friends, during high school and things like that. But it wasn't really until I broke my leg that I decided to go hardcore at it. And so I went really, really hardcore at that time. And I think that was around 2008 is when I decided to fully go on and really leave acting and everything alone. Because at that point I was acting, I was doing hair, I was doing makeup, I was doing all the things. And I said, let me pick my lane. And that was when I really decided to hone in on it. So, good question.
Thanks, Kai.
Yes.
All right. This one, the rest of the questions, we did not get names. So
Okay, yeah.
we're just going to throw them out there. We didn't want to say your name without getting your permission, but Kai and Eva gave us their permission. You both seem so friendly, but one has to be a diva. Who's the biggest diva?
Biggest diva. I think from the outside looking in, people would probably say me because I'm more animated and ridiculous.
I think it depends on the circumstance because I'm currently covered in everything that rhinestones and glitters.
That's true.
And wearing hot pink.
That's true. You also love to wear a heel.
I do love to wear a heel. I think it depends on what the definition of diva is in the moment.
Yeah.
I think if it's fun and flashy and Beyonce at her best.
It could be both of us.
Right.
Yeah, totally. But I think if it's the opposite where it's rude
right.
or someone who's asking for too much or, they walk into a space and they're like, this is them. That's just not us.
Right. We don't even send the food back at the restaurant if we don't like it. We'll suffer.
No.
So we're definitely not divas.
Recently, when so anyone listening, I should know I'm the national makeup artist for Yves Saint Laurent Beauty, and it's one of my favorite jobs I have ever had. And when we're on set filming something, there's a production crew and they're like, what can we get for you? And I literally am like, nothing, please. No, don't go out of your way. But it's the point is the company pays for that kind of a thing. So even in those instances, I am not a diva at all. And you're the exact same way.
Yeah. I try to take up as little space as possible in those moments.
Yeah. All right. Oh, we got a question for you,
Ooh.
Senor David. So, what was your host pinch me moment? The moment where you were like, oh my God, I'm doing this. This is really happening.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've been lucky enough to have so many incredible moments like that. But if I had to pick one, most recently when I hosted the ABC broadcast for the New York City Pride March.
Oh, yes.
There were so many moments. It was a 3-hour live show on ABC.
Yep.
There were so many moments, but there was one in particular where I was standing for my first stand-up. We were actually in rehearsal. We hadn't even started yet. And the wind is blowing because we were waiting for a storm. And I had my IFB on. I had the headset on where they're talking to me in my ear and about to cue me to go. And then the marching band comes up behind me. And there's a video where I literally am like mouth agape looking back like, is this happening?
Right.
And this is from someone who produced that march for 6 or 7 years.
Right.
So it's
But
not
for
like
so long you were in it.
I was in it, but this
Yeah.
was a moment where I was like, the backdrop to me doing my first stand-up on ABC is a marching band. It was so wild, and I took a moment in that time frame to just go, I'm experiencing this, and it's a feeling I will never forget.
Y'all, I cried. I boo-hooed all day long. I was literally like touching him up instead because I did his makeup. So I was like touching him up and crying, and then I'd have to touch up myself and then touch you up. It was hysterical. Oh my God.
All right, next one is, what's the biggest challenge you are facing right now as a couple?
I would probably say maybe finding the time to do it all.
I would agree. I think it's that, and to be honest, maybe a little bit of finding the kindness in those moments.
Sure.
We
I
have
get
to
that.
like strategically, and it's not because we fight or because we don't like each other, but we have to strategically stop and go, we have a lot going on today. So remember, we're partners in this.
Yeah.
We're not
because it's
competing or
super
fighting.
easy in the moment to just bleh.
Especially on
And
the person
be-
you're closest to.
Right. And just because we're the closest to each other, we're the most comfortable. And so we're the most unfiltered with our emotions.
Correct.
So I think that I can understand that. It's finding that kindness. And
In the busy moments.
in the busy moments. Yeah. Okay. All right. This is a funny question. Someone said, what's your secret to making it all look so good? Well, first of all, thank you.
I mean, I think I might have said this earlier in the episode, but social media.
Yeah. Social media is there to make everything look good. Like you don't see all of the work that goes into everything that we have to do.
It's like that analogy people use all the time where like you're a duck and no one sees the feet paddling a million miles a minute
yeah.
underwater.
Yeah.
You're just going to see the pretty duck on the top.
Right.
And we're the pretty ducks.
We hope. We're the pretty ducks, so you don't want to see the feet paddling.
Right. It's just like, I'm not going to post a picture of myself the way I look at 8:00 in the morning when I'm sitting in my computer drinking my first cup of coffee and trying to like figure out what my day looks like.
Right.
No one wants to see that post.
Right. So the answer is we are very selective about what we post.
So that's our story so far.
We hope that you have enjoyed Husbantr up until this point, and we truly appreciate all the love and support that we have received.
But we aren't going too far, so stay tuned to our Instagram. That's Husbantr, Husbantr. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you name it. You'll find us everywhere.
And if you want to re-listen or if you want to catch up on the season, you can definitely check out our podcast online at www.husbantrpodcast.com.
And we'd love to hear what you thought of the season so far and what we could do better for season 2 or any topics you want to hear us cover in season 2.
Yeah, and you can definitely email us. Please email us at husbantr@gmail.com or send us a DM. Slide into those DMs.
Remember to like, subscribe, follow, comment, all the things. Share. Why? Because life is better with a little banter. Husbantr. Husbantr is hosted, written, and produced by David and J. Brandon Correa.
And our theme song is Snap Bracelet by Brain Tan. You can check them out on Instagram at brain__tan.